what is this logistic regression? Again, it is a kind of a regression model. Okay, so this regression model traditionally works with continuous numeric values of information or the data. Okay, again, you need to consider for this data to be considered for the dependent and the independent variable. No doubt about it. It is as similar to your the last two classes discussion what we have done it for linear regression and non-linear regression. So regression models traditionally work with lot of numeric values. The continuous numeric values you might have seen, whatever the dimensions we have got it, like the house price, the square feet, the energy consumption in terms of electricity, kilowatts, and the value was temperature. So which were all continuous numeric values, isn't it? Did you find any alphanumeric value? Did you find any string kind of a data type value? Is it yes or no? I'm talking to you. Please answer to me. Is it you had any data set with a alphanumeric or stream of character based values, or only numeric values as the continuous numeric values of data we have seen it from the two examples for linear and non-linear regression so far? Please answer to my questions, all of you. I'm talking to you. Please answer to me. Are you all there? Amrita? Amrita?
Ma'am, she's not well, so I don't think she's in the meeting.
Okay. Deblina, you are there, right?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
What kind of data you have seen in the last two data sets?
Yes, ma'am. They were only numeric.
They were only numeric. This much answer anyone can give, right? Please be attentive and talk to me. Okay. Okay. So let us come back to the topic. The logistic regression model also, however, works similar lines of linear and non-linear. So it will also work with a dependent variable. Okay. So it will also work with a dependent variables that have the categorical values. Okay, such as the weather forecasting in terms of whether the loan is approved for a customer or not in a banking sector, or weather forecasting says that whether it is going to rain, means how many centimeters of rain, but there must be something which is being defined. Okay, so logistic regression measures the concept I'm explaining theoretically. Okay, the logistic regression actually measures the relationship between the categorical dependent variables and one or more independent variables. One or more independent variables. So we have seen the similar kind of the logic again even in the generalized regression definition also. Okay. So for example, let us take a patient data only. So logistic regression might be used to predict whether the patient has given a disease, example diabetic. Based on the what characteristics we can predict that the patient is diabetic. So it has been observed that the characteristics of the patient age might be one of the criteria to identify that if the patient is a diabetic or a non-diabetic, gender, okay, male or female, and the BMI, that is body mass index, and the resultant results of the blood samples, what it has been taken for the patient. So that will minimum help us to predict that whether the patient is diabetic or non-diabetic. Okay, so logistic regression means what? So it is helping us to measure the relationship between the categorical dependent variable with one or more independent variable. So logistic regression models are very much probably gives us or scores as the predicted values of the dependent variables. And This logistic regression model takes the natural logarithmic value of the probability of the dependent variables which is being used, or it is being referred as a logical unit or a functionality, and it creates the continuous criteria as a transformed version of the decision variable. So this logic transformation, which is being used in the logistic regression as the dependent variable. So now we need to understand what is the effect of the dependent variables, right? So the total effect is that although the dependent variable in the logistic regression is a binomial, because we are saying that it is categorical, okay, so that has two possible values when I say, so that's why it is binomial or categorical, because it has only two possible values, okay. Then the logic is the continuous functionality upon the regression, what we are linear regression, what we are being conducting. So the general logistic function with the independent variables, so on the axis will be helping us to identify and give the dependent variable to be there on the vertical axis. So again, I need to share it and show you how it is looks like. Otherwise, let me use the whiteboard for 2-3 minutes and I'll plot it and I'll show you how this general logic function look like. The whiteboard visible? Is the whiteboard visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So here how it looks like means the general sorry, 1 minute. So let me take this value as 0. Okay. So this is my 2, 4. Let me have this value as 6. Okay. And here minus 2, obviously, minus 4. And if I extend this, so let me take this as minus 6. And this is my 0.5, and this is my 1. Okay. So this is my origin with a 0 value. So this is my origin with the 0 value. So this is a general logic function, how it looks like. Okay. So all popular data mining platforms provides the support for this kind of regular multiple regression models, and which are very well as to be optional. I mean options for the logistic regression. Okay. So there are a lot of advantages and disadvantages with respect to the regression models only. It's not logistic or linear or non-linear. That is non-linear means curvilinear. Okay, so there are a lot of advantages and disadvantages. Okay, so what are these advantages and disadvantages? Advantages, disadvantages. Okay. So let us see one by one. So the regression models are very popular because they offer many advantages, to be frank, but we could list out only very few. So let us discuss one by one that. The regression models are very easy to understand. Okay. And as they have been built upon the statistical principles such as the correlation and the least square errors, so it is very easy to understand and construct. This is one of the advantage. The second advantage is the regression models provide very simple algebraic equations, very simple linear equations with a multiplication and the addition, subtraction, maximum to the square root and squares. Okay, so very easy to understand and very easy to use. So this is one more advantage because it's very simple. It provides very simple algebraic equations as they are very easy to understand, easy to use it in the even programming coding or so then the strength or the important strength of the regression model is measured in terms of correlation efficiencies, so which we have seen. So that is the small r and the small r square. Okay, so correlation coefficient correlation or correlation coefficients and even the related statistical parameters are also very much well defined and understood in the regression model. So this is one of the strength or the goodness of fit also we call it as for the regression model. So this is the third advantage. The fourth advantage is actually regression models can include all the variables that one wants to include it in the model. So there is no restriction that you need to have only one variable. Okay. So or only two variables. So you can include all the variables that what you require or what you wanted to include it in the model. So that is one more advantage. And the regression models can also match the predictive power and beat the predictive power of the other modeling techniques which are available for the data mining. And this is the fifth advantage. So sixth advantage is it is pervasive. The regression modeling tools are very pervasive. So they found in a lot of statistical packages as well as even the data mining packages. And our normal MS Excel, that is Microsoft Excel. Okay, so Microsoft Excel spreadsheet can also provide very simple regression modeling capabilities. So these are the very few advantages what I have listed out, but there are a list of lot of advantages wherein the regression model is one of the popular model which is being used in the data mining process. And for every process, for everything, we know that pros and cons will be there. So advantages, disadvantages will be there. Okay. So similarly, the regression models can, however, be said that it is very easy to use, easy to understand. You can match with the variables, you can include all the variables, something like that. But still, there are loopholes. Means there are inadequate proving results, which says that there are many circumstances we cannot really prove the adequate outcomes for the model. So that's why there are still disadvantages. Okay. So what are those advantages? So regression models cannot cover the very poor data quality issues because if unknown values are there, junk values are there, you cannot really do the predictions. You cannot put those values in the equation and compute the coefficient of correlations. Okay, so if the data is not very well prepared, well considered, and there are a lot of missing values and not well behaved or well defined values in terms of the distribution of the data. So, well, validity of the model also suffer when we have a lot of this kind of unprepared, untrained data or missing values, chunk values or unknown values or something like that, irrelevant values with respect to the variables. It really cannot validate the model very well. So that's why the model suffers. So this is one of the disadvantage. The next disadvantage is regression model suffers from the curvilinear problems. Okay, so that is the strong linear correlations. Okay, strong linear correlations among some of the independent variables. So if the independent variables have strong correlations among themselves, then automatically so they can have the information, eat into the information of the other predictive models, and the regression coefficients also lose their the goodness. Means the model will not be automatically choosing between the highly collinear variables, although even the packages attempt to do that in the modeling. Okay. So the next disadvantage is it is unreliable if the large number of variables come. So obviously if 2 dimensions, 3 dimensions, 3 variables, it's fine. 4 variables, it's fine. But when we see that a large number of variables are being included in the model means, so regression models will not be very much suggestible. So all the variables entered in the model will be reflected in the equation and your equation will become so much huge. So irrespective of the contribution, whether it is helping us to do the proper prediction or the power of the model can be improvised. So still it will be involved. So there is no concept of anything like automatic pruning for the regression model. So this is one of the disadvantage. Then the next disadvantage is the regression model do not automatically take care of the non-linearities. So do not take automatically the non-linearity. So the user requires to imagine it and the kind of like what kind of the additional terms or the additional variables I need to add it or might be required to be added in the regression model to improvise the resultant or efficiencies. Then the regression models also works only with the numeric data, what we have seen in the previous example of the case studies. We never come across any alphanumeric or alphabetic or some kind of other than the numeric data. So any any categorical variables, we could not get like that. So regression models works very much well with only numeric data, not with the categorical data or categorical variables. So there are always there are the ways to deal with the categorical variables. So even though we can create multiple new variables, and but what values we can fit in the binary values only. That is the new variable values can fit with the value yes or no, not more than that. So these are the few disadvantages of regression. So finally, I'm just concluding the class for today. So we have seen the regression model as the one of the important and widely popular used model for the data mining process. Okay, so we have discussed about what is regression model, and we defined that regression models are very simple, versatile, and it is being used to depict the information or predict the results in terms of visual and graphical tools with a higher rate of predictive ability the regression model has got. And the regression model includes with linear, non-linear, and we have seen even the non-linear as well as the binary predictions. And even the regression models can be used in combination or conjunction with the other data mining techniques to confirm the lot of perfect findings, the pattern findings, or confirming the findings or the predictions. So this is about the regression. So we have been summarized and concluding with it. So let me ask you some questions. So regression is an artificial intelligence technique. Is it true or false? Anyone can answer? Regression is an artificial intelligence technique. Say yes or no. I'm talking to you. Say yes or no. Is it regression an artificial intelligence technique?